Today we are doing a Blaster Blade deck profile. So, like with my Tava's deck profile, I also won a shop challenge with the Blaster deck. But using the shop challenge thing was basically clickbait. Sorry for that, but it works. We start with a 4 Blaster Blade Exceed, obviously the boss monster of the deck. We know his skill by now, but I will note that the second skill, the nuke, even though it's very nice to have, you really have to watch out with this deck, because once you get starved for counterblast, you are forced into Gansalot, and you really don't want to be striding Gansalot later on. It's a great first stride, amazing that we got it, but Alfred's Saver is so much better. We really have to watch our counterblast. So even though the second skill is very nice, you really gotta watch out with using it. Then we've got 2 Lu, a very nice addition to the deck. Being able to recycle your Blaster Blades is so amazing. Also, just having a Stride Fodder that also has guard, and then simultaneously being a 60k beater is very nice, because in our Alfred turns, we will often need that extra row, so our critical triggers from Blaster Blade can go on there unless you have your Flog already. And so having that 16k here is really painful for the opponent. It makes us able to keep some more cards in our hand, because we only need to put down 1 rear guard instead of 2 to have something special going. Then 4 Blaster Blades, all from the Legend deck, nice and full art. Yeah, he's just the star of the deck, you already know what he does. Searchable Light by Lu, counter charge with Blaster Blade, getting Twin Drive of Alfred, restanding with Flogel. It's such a ridiculous card right now. For Lu, amazing in the early game. Like being able to have him and Blaster Friend Bargle and having a 19k column against their 9k grade 2 is so painful. If they don't hit defensive triggers and you were able to have like this row and then go into Blaster Blade and so forth, that's amazing. You will just destroy any GB related deck. 3 Trumpeter. I see some people going for Banon, and I get why. They're still used to the whole Sangard build. However, this deck does not kill in the early game. This deck will often go for mid game. And so Banon becomes very dead by then, because you don't want to waste a counterblast on a fucking 14k column. You already draw enough, and so this baby allows you to search for a Flogel, which is so important. 1 Blaster Blade Spirit, it's enough, because you can search with Wingull Brave when you want it, and 10k body is very nice. Also an extra target for Lu to send back, or for Lu to actually fetch an attack if you're really desperate. For Lien, probably the second best PG in the game right now. This is so free, paying a Soul Blast, even though your soul is huge all the time. It's such a good card. The reason I say second best is because I believe Ezra's is actually better, given how much Luar draws and how much it loves sacking Belial. I would say Ezra's is the best PG right now, but this is like the second best. It's so amazing. 4 Stride Fodder. Obviously, 4 is needed because we only run 6 grade 3s and we don't want to be searching for Exceed with our Exceed skill all the time. We really don't have the counter blast for that. 4 Blaster Friend Bargle, giving you the counter charge and also fetching your blaster when he's behind Lu. Very amazing card. Also, the blaster name is very nice for our starter, Wingull Brave. Then in the tech slots, basically I call it the tech slots because in the grade 1 lineup, we kind of have this hole where you have multiple options that are very good. So I went with Wingull Youth. The reason is bricking your rides is probably the most painful thing about Vanguard. And the fact that this deck can fix rides with Wingull Youth and Wingull Brave is insane. It's what makes this deck so good, the consistency that comes from that. And so you can either play Wingull Youth to really ensure that you can have your smooth early game. Usually in the late game, people will no longer care about this guy because they will be guarding everything anyway. But in the early game, being able to fix rides with this is so good. What you can also do is play Blaster Laura. The problem is Blaster Laura is only good when you go second and you draw into her and they let it hit. So it's very situational, and it kind of sucks when you draw into it later because it's a dead card by then. It's like only good in half your games and you have to draw into it, so no thanks. And then you also have Maron, who can fetch Flogel as well. So I get running Maron. It's like running an extra Trumpeter. I would definitely not be against that, but I still prefer the consistency of getting those rides. So Wingull Youth it is for me right now. I might change my mind though when we see more locking and stuff, perhaps the resist from Laura will become actually great. For Flogel, most broken crit ever, restands your Blaster Blade. For a Lone Gull, I really want to run the other crit Flogel just because it's way nicer art and I never use this skill. But I get that sometimes you will need a soul for your Lien, and so you run this one. For Margal, because you want to be giving your Blaster Blade 12k from time to time, and also you need soul, and also you need pieces. For heal, sometimes you will fix your hand with this guy, but not very often. And then Wingull Brave, such an insane card, probably one of the best starters right now. The fact that he also fixes rides, like you see, okay, I don't have a grade 2, I fetch it. Oh, I don't have a grade 3, I fetch it. Oh, I need an extra stride fodder, I fetch it. This card just gives you whatever you want, and you will usually use him before you ride grade 3, so very, very amazing card. Then for the G-Zone, there I do something quite controversial. 3 Gancelot. Reason is, this deck really cares about its counterblast, and when you go into the late game, most people have their Religious Soul Saver ready, and I wonder, if you're that late into the game, A, do you have a field ready? B, will you still have soul for blaster names? And C, will you have the counterblast? And D, does the 15k really matter? So, I think Religious Soul Saver is a fucking stupid card that we will never use ever, and my experience so far seems to agree with that, so I went for an extra Gancelot. In the very long games, like against Bladewing, it really pays off. For Alfred, gives your Blaster Blade Twin Drive, insane card. To Altmile, I have never had to go into him so far, but I guess he's pretty nice to fetch stuff, give your front row pluses, but never needed him. And then I run a bunch of G-Guards. Now hear me out. This deck is so linear, pretty fucking easy to pilot, to be honest. Like, you still need game sense. A good player with this deck against a bad player with this deck, the good player will win. So game sense is important, but compared to my Tavas or my Bladewings, this deck is easier to pilot. Apart from, of course, getting those counterblasts right and when to go for actually calling fields and when to go for aggression and so forth. Like, game sense, okay, but overall this deck is really easy. It's very linear and you will always try the same shit. Like I said, I have never gone into Altmile. You always tried either Gancelot when you need it or Alfred because he's fucking broken. So that's all the strides I have needed so far. And the games I have lost, the very few, because this deck is very good, it was always because I lacked defensive options. Usually, when you're in a pickle, you no longer have a field. Every single game where I was like, oh, now I need extra guard, they also nuked my field because they were in control of the match. And so these guys, who I've seen run all over the place, they're good. But when you need them most, you usually don't have a fucking field, and so they don't get their pluses, and so they're not that amazing. That's why I also have these. This free 25k is insane. This Blaster Blade Protector is insane. And this, well, sometimes being able to turn draw triggers or dead Wingull Youth or dead Trumpeters in your hand into 10k is just very nice, and you will often do that. A lot of this deck's engine is very reliant on your situation, and so this guy kind of takes care of that. Usually when I go into the late game, Wingull Youth becomes kind of shitty, and so I will often just call him out with Marin to protect me and simultaneously thinning my deck, getting rid of a card I wouldn't use otherwise. I chose to go for crap loads of G-Guards over having strides that I will never use, and it has paid off a lot. If you don't agree with that, I get it. I used to run Religious Soul Saver, I just never ever went into him. Same with Fides. So that was the deck profile. If you have any questions, go ahead, leave them in the comments. Also, I do these custom playmats. This is a very old one, so it's kind of shit, but I do these custom playmats. Facebook is in the description. Also, be sure to subscribe for more stuff like this. And let me know what kind of formats you want me to do, because I'm considering doing this a little bit more seriously, because I actually have all the equipment to make really good videos. I just didn't really care about going all out with Vanguard, but maybe like if I have some off time, I might actually do it. So if you want to see any kind of formats, just let me know and I might actually try them out. So go ahead, subscribe, like the video, comment, and see you soon. Ciao.